What's up? Welcome back to the Lost Pod. We're here with a very special guest. His name's Jeff Levin. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I've been at Winnacunnet since 7:30. I'm having a good day. How are you boys doing?
Doing
Been a
pretty
good
well
day.
myself.
Doing good.
Thank you for asking.
Thank you.
You're most welcome.
This is definitely a bigger episode for the Lost Pod just because he's, I would say, outside of our comfort zone a little bit because we've only been kind of talking to our friends, and it's a little bit different talking to friends on a podcast than a person you really don't know that well. So it's great to have you. What brings you here to Winnacunnet? Why have you been here for the whole day? What have you been doing?
I've been meeting with kids, basically, going into Mr. Handwork's science classes, Mr. Michaud's math class, English class, meeting kids under the umbrella of the Reconnection project. My feeling is that, I think we said this in an earlier talk, but I think your generation are really struggling for very, very good reasons, about which I would apologize. From global warming to iPhone addiction to shootings to political disarray, and I think it's a really hard time to grow up. So the Reconnection Project comes into a given school and works with parents, educators, and kids to reconnect and have these challenging but really necessary conversations.
And did you start the Reconnection project?
My wife Miranda and I started it, had a germ of an idea. After working with kids for 37 years, or 39 years, 42 years I've been working with kids. So 3 years ago I said, we have to invent something that will help all kids. Instead of, as a counselor, helping one kid at a time, we need a crop dusting effect. And that the Reconnection Project was born in my head, and my wife and I are both instrumental in fleshing it out.
What got you into talking to kids? Just what started that?
I'm one of these lucky guys. I feel like I always had a calling working with kids. Even when I was a kid, I used to entertain my friends, and I think it's a God thing. I think it's the one thing I'm really good at. And I should be thinking about retiring. If the camera's up close, you can see how wrinkly and old I'm looking. But I can't consider retiring with your generation in such trouble. I literally can't do it.
Yeah.
So it sounds a lot like this reconnection thing's more of a culture shift, instead of just like the one kid you said at a time. It's like trying to change just the whole entire outlook kids have on mental health and just all the other problems in the world. What was like the main thing going into it that you thought was like the number one problem, like the number one priority you had to, I guess, fix, or number one priority you had to tackle?
It's a tie between, I don't want to say adult denial, but I'm flabbergasted with the shortage of grown-ups going, wait a minute, these kids are really struggling. We have to do something different. Mr. McGowan, your principal, is in the minority saying, Jeff, yeah, we have to help all these kids. So that's one thing. And the other thing that is on my mind constantly is a term that my wife Miranda coined, probably in our living room or whatnot, saying all these kids have outcome fever. So if your temperature's $102, $103, you're feverish, right? You know, when you have a temperature, you're not seeing straight, you're sick. But we feel kids are feverish over the outcome, the way they look in 7th grade, the number of likes they get. Outcome fever is real. I've been hugging it, talking to it increasingly for 20 years. And we need to get adults talking about it.
Yeah. So what's your goal with expanding this Reconnection project, would you say?
The hardest, so if you're working with parents are here, kids are here, educators are here. The kids are in the building. They don't have a choice. And I think kids are very hungry for knowledge about why they don't feel good. So the kid piece is the easiest piece.
Yeah.
The educator piece is second easiest. They're in the building. A lot of teachers are exhausted after 2 years of this pandemic, 2.5 years. And increasingly, education has been a less respected profession. You know, I'm 65, so if yes sir, no sir, how high sir, yes, school, respected, you would never challenge it. So So educators and then reaching parents is going to be the hardest piece. But here's my vision. You're a kid that goes to Winnicott. You fellas are graduating, God willing. But you're a high school student in this. You're all graduating, right? Your
Yes.
grades are excellent. We don't have to worry.
As long as nothing goes wrong, I should be on the podium June 10th.
Giving the valedictory speech, you're going to be on the
Oh,
podium.
no, not on the podium. Excuse me.
I mean, receiving your
Receiving the diploma.
Right, so let's all knock on wood. Nothing's going to go bad. I mean, I'm superstitious, so I'll knock on. But you want kids at this school to feel increasing like, okay, my math teacher gets it. My dad kind of gets it. Oh, yeah, the principal gets it. Wait a minute. This is why I have outcome fever. This is why I'm struggling. The grown-ups seem to understand it. That's at the core of the vision of this thing.
You said that this generation has been like kind of unlucky with like mental health. When did you start to notice that shift? If you've been doing it for like 20, 25 years, when did you start to notice it got significantly worse?
No, I started noticing in 1994. O.J. Simpson was brought up on charges. This is before you kids were born, and it divided the country along racial lines, frankly. And it was just an odd, surreal experience. I was in the gym on some machine. O.J. Simpson, 1994. You asked me how long. 1999, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold shot up their school in Colorado. That's called Columbine. That's before you were born. In 9/11, 2 buildings blew up in Manhattan. September 11, 2001, before you're born. So you asked me, when did I said, this crap can't happen without it affecting kids. And I saw outcome fever starting in the 2000s. I got to go to an SCAC school. I got to do this. Oh my God, I missed the 5 free throws and we lost the game. Whereas back in the day, you might be nervous about stuff, but if you failed, you failed. You dusted yourself off and you got back up. Let's go tomorrow. You didn't have your phone at home with, oh, I missed 5 free throws. Oh, I posted dislike phone. Phone just brings you. I'm not a fan of the phone. So I noticed it. I would tell my wife, things are going downhill. She'd say, Jeff, you're crazy. But now every grown-up, and most kids can clearly see that the culture, for lack of a better word, is bananas, and can clearly see that kids are struggling.
Yeah, I think it's a good. This is kind of unrelated, but it will tie back to it when I explain this. So I've been watching the show Breaking Bad, and there's like an episode where like there's like an airplane crash and like disaster, and it's like very brief in the show, but there is like an assembly where kids are talking about their like how they're feeling about it. So I would say like shows like that show a message that like they were just giving kids microphones and asking them to say how they feel.
Wait, time out. So in Breaking Bad, there was
Yeah.
a plane crash.
There was a plane crash.
And then there was kids in school that had an assembly.
Yeah,
Well,
it cuts to a scene with a school assembly, and they're just passing around a mic and asking the kids to say how they feel. And in my opinion, that's just a bad stigma of what compared to what you do, and how they show it in shows on like how they talk about their mental health and issues.
You mean
like
it was
that.
superficial? How do you feel about the plane crash? Next scene.
Yeah,
They didn't allow the
exactly.
kids to talk about stuff.
They were talking, but they had to do it in front of a whole crowd, in front of their whole school,
I see.
which isn't like productive at all, in my opinion. But with you come into classes and you're very hands-on, but it's very just small groups, so no one feels like that much pressure, if it makes sense.
Yeah.
So I just think it's like poor on them, because that's like a bad stigma, in my opinion, if that makes any sense.
Well, I didn't get the stigma part. From the show Breaking Bad?
Yeah. So like basically what they're showing is like it's just a poor demonstration of how like I guess mental health is perceived and talked about in schools compared to what actually happens here.
Oh, gotcha.
And what you're
Okay.
doing. If
Yeah.
that makes it kind of a
No,
confusing
now it
story to
does.
explain.
No, it makes
But yeah.
Because I watch all of Breaking Bad and I can't remember that scene.
I remember it specifically very well because they ask Walter to give a speech.
Oh,
and
it's at the beginning when he's still teaching chemistry?
yeah, and
Oh.
he can't like give a speech with. He's like, well, just look at the bright side, and then
Oh.
all the kids are like, what's going
Mr.
on
White,
here?
what are you
Yeah.
talking about?
Yeah, but still, it's not a very good representation, and in shows in entertainment, they don't do the greatest job of
No,
anything like
it's
that.
a rabbit hole of entertainment. But
Yeah.
when The
Yeah.
Sopranos came out about a mafia guy, it's very arresting. It's very dramatic. Breaking Bad, you can't look away.
Yeah,
But I don't know if you want to go down this rabbit hole, but it's not. It's easy to make entertainment about a chemistry teacher who starts cooking crack. It's
Yeah.
it's dramatic. It's overly. There's no subtlety to it.
Yeah.
And kids have lost the ability. I tell kids watch, some old black and white movie, and they look at me like, "What are you crazy? I'm not watching a black and white." You know what I mean?
yeah,
Kids are less patient. They actually, and I know I'm getting off the track. You're the
fine.
head host, so
Oh, yeah.
you're the main
No,
guy.
you're all good.
So, kids' heartbeats are beating 20 times faster than they were per minute 20 years ago, according to a pediatrician friend of mine from Danvers, Mass. I mean, I think people are just overwrought.
Yeah.
There's just too much coming at people. You know, I was in a class today. I don't think any of you boys was in it. Mr. Michaud, and we just were laughing and singing and having fun. You know, and the
Yeah.
kids just that shouldn't be unusual.
Yeah.
Laughing, singing, and bonding shouldn't be unusual.
I think this can kind of tie back into what you're kind of saying. Just overstimulation with, phones and just all the media that's coming at people. It's almost overwhelming for a lot of kids. On top of all the news that's going on right now, everything that's happening, it's really hard for kids just to settle and be like, okay, this is my life. This is what I have to focus on, because there's just so much coming at them. And I guess a show like Breaking Bad, where it's just like quick, go, and that's all it is, or like any shows like that, it really kind of just wires kids to.
I can see you guys want to talk. Like kids, the plasticity of kids' brains are still
Yeah.
forming. An old guy like me, pretty formed. But yeah,
and I'd say
constant serotonin. What's the net? Come on, let's go. Breaking Bad. Blah blah blah.
And I'd say things like the pandemic made kids more like dependent on that stuff for sure,
100%.
because there's nothing else to do. So
I could be the old guy bitching about video games, and I am that guy because I'm
Yeah.
not a fan of them.
Yeah.
I mean, play for an hour a day maybe, but go outside. Like
Yeah.
explore the world. You know the phrase "go out," but explore the world so that the world can help you figure out who you are. That's the main question. Who
Yeah.
are you? Who do you really want to be?
And people on these video games and stuff, they're kind of like shaping their whole existence off of the superficial thing that they see, or the superficial thing that they do, and they can't really ever establish their own self or their own being. So
like their own identity.
yeah,
if you
so
will.
then when they're actually in a situation with other people, they just kind of feel lost and feel like they don't know what to do. They just
Yeah, like that's kind of when Griffin was on last episode, we talked about how you go to like the gym all the time, right?
Mhm.
That's like a choice that you made instead. Like you can go home after school and play video games or watch TV, but that's like, I feel like you going to the gym has definitely changed your character a little bit in a good way, and making that decision was like huge for you.
Because
Yeah.
Griff, you were playing video games much more, and you
Yeah.
decided the heck with it. I want to go work on myself.
Mhm.
How has it changed you?
It's done a lot for me. It's given me a lot of self-confidence.
Right.
It's taught me a lot of things on like how to just keep going, push through it.
Perseverance and push through.
Yeah, just a lot of lessons you can learn. I've also received a lot of kindness at the gym too, which you sometimes don't always receive like in school and other places.
Hey, nice job. I notice you.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like that camaraderie that happens between.
That's awesome. I mean,
So-
I don't know if they can see your expression, but obviously you can see that you smile. Like it's really,
Yeah.
and that's what kids. Those are the experiences. And you decided to go. It wasn't like your
Yeah.
soccer coach said or your grandmother said, "Hey, why don't you?"
A lot of people don't like really go out to like find it, I'd say. But if you just like explore your hobbies, like get off the game, do what you said, explore the world a little bit.
You got to.
You'll just find so much more about yourself and what you like.
And kind of just
You've got to.
to
Yeah.
reel it all in, talking about the gym and how Griffin said there's a lot more camaraderie. I'd say there's that sense of community that brings people together, and it makes people just a lot healthier. And that's not really something that kids see now that is part of their like every day. Like, of course, there's people playing sports, there's kids that do clubs and stuff, but the kids that don't do that, they don't get introduced to it through social medias and stuff. They're just kind of alone, and they don't have that. I read somewhere, actually, that community, or it was in a book, it was Outliers, I don't know the author.
Yeah, that's a well-known book.
The beginning of it, it's just like the introduction, and it's kind of to hook you in, but he talks about how there was this group of Italians that moved here who they realized that those people were living a lot longer than a lot of other communities in the same kind of area. And they didn't realize why, because they weren't eating that healthy. They were eating like pizza, pasta, whatever they were eating every single day. A lot of fats, a lot of unhealthy food. They weren't exercising any extreme amount, but they had a really strong sense of community. Each person helped each other, and everyone was just there as kind of like one big working gear. So it was like that is what made them the healthiest out of every community, and that's not really that well known of a fact, that just making friends and being sociable is what will make you healthy. Of course, going to the gym, eating healthy will do that, but that's very important.
When you say, you want to jump in too, when you say one working gear, it just gives me goose flesh, because we've become so disconnected and isolated, and COVID added to it. But it was here, disconnection and 15,617 gears instead of one gear. One gear feels good, and we've known that. You don't have to read Outliers.
Yeah.
We know it.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
I really want to emphasize and thank Mr. McGowan, but the Reconnection Project has the name for a reason. And when people feel connected, they feel good, they feel safe. And we can avoid tragedy, but also give every kid in this building, God willing, an opportunity to find what he or she loves. And you know, fall down and dust off and not be afraid. I mean, I'm in classes all day saying, hey, do me a favor, expand your comfort zone, sing a major scale. You would think I'm saying, you know, climb Mount Everest without a Sherpa in a T-shirt and shorts. Are you kidding me? Sing a major scale? I can't. And there's a quote on that paper called Clear Your Mind of Can't, which is a critical lesson. You know, clear your mind. But the fear of people's opinions and all these gears, like you said, what are you smiling about?
Oh, I'm just thinking about I'd say a social media, a pretty big social media influencer who he's kind of a meme or a joke, but so a lot of the things he says can be held true. It's just like taken out of context. He's seen as a joke. His name's Gary V. He's a big
I love Gary V.
entrepreneur. And a lot of the things he does say, it's like, don't care about what your parents think about you doing what you want to do, because that's what you want to do.
Well, I don't know who Gary V is.
I love Gary
Yeah.
V.
I heard you say you love him. What
He's
do
awesome.
you love about him?
I don't know. Like, I couldn't even tell. Just like his attitude towards everything. He's like,
he's very enthusiastic.
yeah, very enthusiastic. He'll just say what he like without hesitation. He'll say what he believes.
He's very like grind, go.
Yeah.
Get after your dreams. Type.
But he's not like
Yeah.
he wants you to do what you want.
Yeah,
He does it. Yeah.
His message is find out what you want to do, and
then
do that for the rest of your life, because this is the one life that you live. And if your parents tell you don't do that, then, you know,
The hell with that.
F 'em.
But
Yeah.
but he's also not like trying to veer you one way. Like, I listened to a podcast with him on it a couple days ago, and they're talking about college, and he doesn't love college, but he's like, you should go to college if you want to. Like, the doctors, the lawyers, the engineers, you guys should go to college. That's meant for you, but it's not meant for everybody.
Does this fella, Mr. V, he's an influencer? That's how he makes
So
his living?
He made a living originally by being a wine taster on YouTube. One of the first, yeah, I know.
How do you make a living tasting wine in front of a camera?
Exactly.
Well, I
That's
think his
what-
dad was a wine.
Well, His
Liquor
dad
store owner.
owned a wine store in like Brooklyn. He was a second generation immigrant. His dad moved there. I'm not sure if he was born in America, but he moved there when he was a kid.
I see.
Lived there. He worked in this wine store for the longest time, and I guess one day he started like tasting it, and he's like, why don't I just like, this would be good marketing for the store.
Yeah.
Start tasting wine. He made a YouTube channel doing that, and he kind of blew up on that a little bit after like 4 years of doing it.
This phrase of blow up, is new to an old
Yeah,
guy.
yeah. He.
So I worry that
yeah.
kids are being raised by strangers. No, I worry about it.
Yeah.
And each other.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, I'm sure Gary Vee, a good guy.
And then he created this media company that helps other companies do kind of the same thing.
Well, there's this, it's part of outcome. I'm going to blow up.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know Kim Kardashian, but she blew up.
She did.
Her father defended O.J. Simpson in 1994.
Yeah.
I've never met her. I don't know anything about her. And no offense to her if she's watching, but I'm not sure she deserves to be a role model. I don't know, Mr. V.
It can be a very dangerous world. I'd
This is
say.
what I'm thinking. I mean,
because
yeah.
not every influencer has good morals and all of that. So
well,
your
this
kids-
word influencer perplexes me because I guess I was raised in a time when I trusted my parents.
Yep.
I'm lucky. Several of my teachers, my brother, influencer. It's a word that how did it happen? I think in some broad way we haven't caught up to all the changes that have occurred in the last 25 years. And we
Yeah.
just say, oh, he's an influencer. Well,
I
who the
mean-
hell is he? What does he stand for?
Yeah, honestly, now that you say that, looking back at some of the people, like we had very similar taste in like YouTubers, like in 6th grade, and looking back
Yeah.
at some of the people that we like.
When
Really,
I heard
like,
YouTuber, I thought it was something you go off a boat with. YouTube.
No, yeah,
No, that's what I'm just
yeah.
telling you.
Well,
what I-
like we,
I'm just
yeah,
saying.
some of like the influencers or YouTubers that we were big
in
fans
6th
of.
grade, bro? You
Look,
said?
yeah,
Yeah,
looking
6th
back
grade,
at them, they probably were not the best people to look up to
And still.
as a 12-year-old.
the big difference between television and YouTube, I'd say, is television is like regulated by a company to make sure it's like good content.
Kind of, sort of.
YouTube, you could just be watching anything.
Yeah.
You can have restrictions on it, but most people don't.
When you kids were given devices, how old were you boys when you were given an unregulated device?
I was in 5th grade.
Yeah, me too.
10 or 11?
I was in
Yep.
7th grade.
11
I
or
was a little
12,
bit
yeah.
older.
So you're giving 10, 11, 12, 13, 14-year-old boys and girls a gizmo that they can see anything upon.
Yeah.
Correct.
Bad sentence. It's a gizmo upon which you can see pornography, violence,
Yep.
influencers. This strikes me as a bad idea. Now, am I crazy? Do I sound like the
I,
150-year-old man right
No,
now?
I 100%.
I would agree with
agree
you
with you.
in saying
Like,
that you're not crazy.
I mean, we develop all our point of views and all our just everything that we
I'm
know.
not going to correct your grammar, but I will.
Yes.
We developed all our points of view.
Yeah. Anyway,
I had to throw that in.
I
for-
know you're an
I'm the
English-
annoying ex-English teacher.
but
I'd say it helps expose us to a little bit of what the real world is like, just because we live in a nice mid to upper class town. So in some ways, you get more of a sense of like what's really out there. But at that young of an age, I still don't think it's a great idea.
Did your mom and dad come around and say, "Hey, you're in 6th grade. What are you watching? Well,
Yeah.
show
Yeah,
dad
they
what
did.
you're watching."
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes they came
oh,
around.
my mom, even now. I mean, I'll she can't really care anymore, but she'll hear like swears on my phone or something, and she'll be like, "What are you watching? Why are you watching that? I don't want to hear that in my house." But definitely when I was younger, she'd always come around. and
I mean,
show
I'm
me.
going to lapse into. I don't know if you call this cynicism, but you studied the Trojan War,
Yeah.
and they fought
Yeah.
against who? They fight against the Greeks.
Yeah.
I think so. Now I'll expose my lack of historical knowledge.
Yeah.
But they got their
I
butts
should
kicked,
know.
and they devised a secret plan. They said, "Look, we're going to surrender to them, and we'll give them a gift, the Trojan horse."
I remember.
And all the boys hid in the wooden horse, and then they came out and kicked the crap out of the, I guess, Greeks. Again, my apologies. The phone, it brings you, oh, wow, Waze, Snap, Twitch, Chat, this, that. It brings you all this convenience. and seeming, I don't know what you call it, seeming amazing, like it does all these things. But I think it's bringing bad stuff. I'm just being honest.
And this is a little bit related. Today we talked in my math class, or in my computer science class, we watched a whole video about this dude that kind of was on the come up with Apple, and he just talked about his experience. And one of the big questions my math teacher said after that was, is it still important for math teachers to teach kids like these simple, like 4 times 12 or like 5 times, because you can access that easily. Should kids know that though? And it's like going into actual like non-math related things. Should kids know these certain things, or should they just need to
What do you decide? What do you think?
I think there's a lot of values that are being taught on devices that some parents and some schools are kind of just leaving to the kids to kind of figure out or just see, and they should be teaching them it. And it's hard because these kids are getting influenced by that, and even if they're taught a different thing, they're just going to go to what sounds more pleasing. And since they're on their device all the time, there's a lot of things that kind of will lead up to them believing one thing over another. So it's just kind of really hard, just like hold.
I think there are advantages
You're
and
right.
disadvantages.
Yeah.
Not every teacher is the best. So having a platform like the internet to use to help you is something that I probably wouldn't have made it through high school without.
Really?
Yeah, very important. Or at least having a resource. I probably could have gotten a textbook at the library, but in the middle of a pandemic, I mean, that's not happening. So something such as
Interesting. No, it's
the
interesting.
internet.
I think these conversations are critical. Like, I think this podcast, I don't know if anybody else is having these conversations. If you guys have it without the old guy here, but I'm bringing in,
probably
these
different.
perspectives.
different lens to see
Because
too.
it's changed. You kids probably had no idea how fast the culture has. My head is spinning. I say it all the time. There's a horror movie called The Exorcist.
Yeah.
A little girl is possessed. It's a great book, The Exorcist. But at one point, her name is Regan or Reagan. Her head does a 360. So unless you're an owl who can do almost, an owl can, but not 360. That's how my head. I felt like this for increasingly legit for 20 years. And I knew that this was going to affect kids. And we can laugh but kids are really suffering. I mean, and at WPI, you know what that is? It's a school in Worcester.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's either 7 or 8 boys. All boys have taken their own lives since August at Worcester Polytechnic Institute. Are we okay with that? No.
No, it's terrible.
No.
It's terrible. And there are reasons for this stuff. And my friend Judge Broderick, we should have come and get him in on the podcast. Because here's a guy that's spoken to 100,000 kids in auditoriums, and they give him a standing ovation. Why? Because he says it's okay not to be okay. You kids are struggling. He's hugged 4,000 kids crying after talks. 4,000 over, I don't even know, 1,000 a year. He's been doing it for 4.5 years. And I've seen the same thing. So either Judge and I are crazy, or we see that the culture is changing in ways that are deleterious to kids. That's a good SAT word. Deleterious?
Deleterious, right.
Harmful to kids, like the word delete.
Yeah.
Deleterious, taking away their joy.
All right.
No good.
Yeah.
I also think going back to the phone thing just a little bit, it's good to have like having you here.
It just cut out, so.
Yeah, so we have to, you'll edit it.
Yeah,
But you were saying, people,
Yeah.
parents are fearful that the world is dangerous, and they're giving their kids gizmos so that they can know where they are, right?
Yeah, so they kind of gotta pick and shoot. I guess it would just be like give your kid a phone, but have restrictions or really watch.
Why not give your kid a flip phone? So this way, Junior can call, or you can text your daughter, son, flip phone. Why do we need a smartphone?
That's a good point. I don't know. I think it's just what everyone had. I think.
It's a thing.
It's just like, yeah.
I mean, we have to keep these conversations going. Like, I'd love every parent in this district to watch and listen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and get parents in this boardroom.
Yeah.
Kids, this is what I would love to do. I'm not trying to steal the lost pod. Why did you use the adjective lost?
I mean,
It took
It's-
us a little bit.
It's
to
like
get the
Raiders
name.
Ark, the Lost Ark, the Raiders
Yeah,
of the Lost.
well, I mean, obviously earlier someone, I think it was Jacob, we're at a point in life where we're just trying to figure out our lives.
Because we're all COVIDized.
Because we're all just like, yeah, we don't know what's
The awkward transition phase.
and
from high school to
from
to the next
well, just
chapter.
figuring out what we want to do in life.
why do we have to, just to be devil's advocate, why do we have to figure it out? Why it's hard to go with the
Well,
flow.
That's the thing. This podcast, we wanted to talk to people, understand their lives, just kind of get almost on the ground, understand every other person's perspective, because then you can develop your own and just like understand what you like. I mean, that's really just the simple reason we chose that.
I like it. I mean,
Yeah.
because you guys been cut off from each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
True.
like, what, 4 or 5 months?
Yeah.
For a
Or
while.
more.
roughly.
COVID.
Yeah, for a while.
It was pretty bad for like a couple months.
Yeah.
Do you teenage boys, do you kids talk about vulnerable emotions with each other? Like, this was bad. I was sad. I was this. I was pissed.
I would say we haven't done like a horrible job at it.
I'd say our
Yeah.
friend group especially, we're pretty good about just being open with each other and just telling each other what we think about certain
I
things.
hope so, because we baby boomers wouldn't share.
Yeah.
But you kids have been through the ringer,
Yeah.
boys.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
you've been-
definitely very important.
I feel like
to share and compare notes, get emotional, no big deal.
during like the peak of the pandemic, I feel like it actually got better, which is we're in our friend group at least. That's just one sample, but like people were like so by themselves,
So
that-
isolated.
so isolated
Yeah.
that they just like at one point they were just like, I gotta tell people if something's wrong.
100%. I hope you kids stay with that.
Yeah.
It took me into my 40s, to be able to be vulnerable with my childhood friends, all us baby boomers, tough guy, Boston guys. Well, I don't.
Yeah.
I suffered because of that.
Yeah.
You think teenage girls are better at sharing vulnerable emotions than teenage boys?
I'd say
Definitely.
100%.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Girls technically or scientifically they mature quicker than guys. They are just, and they're a lot, I don't want to say more emotional, but they are a lot more open with emotions. So like a combination of both of those, they just talk about it more and understand each other more, just because when you're talking you understand. So guys just find it harder. And there's also not so much now, but there used to be this like big like macho masculine.
It's getting better.
It's getting a lot better.
Definitely.
But there was a macho masculine stigma around just guys
Being vulnerable.
needing to just be tough guys that don't have feelings and just people that do the work and just
They
don't
did a study
talk.
years ago. I wish I could find the citation. In a nursery with little baby boys and girls. And the boys needed more connection from the nurses and so on than the girls. The fact is, and most women will tell you, I think this, my husband's a mush, but he won't open up. He needs, like the little boys needed more touching and hugging and how are you doing? And that's, but then we close up,
Yeah.
but it's getting better. Listen, are we going to do the song?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Want to do the
After
song
this.
now?
We're going to do the song because
do
you
it.
guys haven't picked your theme song for the Lost Podcast.
All right.
This will be a good way to end it.
This will.
What's the song called again?
Yeah,
Like to.
Is this still
live
rolling,
the
or did
love.
you
Oh yeah, it's still rolling.
It's still rolling.
well, you got to get an A chord. Hold this microphone while I get an A
I
chord.
got it.
This is exciting.
This song is called "I Like to Live the Love."
I don't know if you heard that. I like to live the love.
It says it on the
I like to live to love. The love.
Gotta warm up the singing voice.
Warm the vocals a little bit.
Yeah.
I like to live the love I sing about. In my song, I like to live the love I... Am I singing or are we singing?
Oh,
Well,
I don't know when
just
to
getting a
sing.
feel
I
for
was
it.
infatuated. I was just letting you sing.
Getting a feel for it.
Yeah, yeah.
Listen,
I
to the
like
audience
to
at
live
home.
the love.
I like to live the love. B.B. King, live in Africa on YouTube. YouTube. B.B. King, live in Africa. I like to live the love.
All right.
And the
I'm
verse goes like,
Are we starting at the top or the?
my song is a
Serious
serious matter.
matter.
It
Reflects
reflects
what I
What I
Have
feel.
you guys heard this tune? When
Now
I say I love you, I mean it. 'Cause
'Cause
in my song, every line is for real.
Every man or woman enjoys going home
to
To a peaceful situation.
situation.
To give love, to
Give love
and
and receive love
without
any complications.
What's the next line? Whether my tune,
Yeah,
What?
whether my
My
tune
tune
is
is
short
short
or
or
long,
whether
whether my lyrics are weak or strong, I like to live, love, and sing about.
You want to know what the problem is right now?
What?
You guys are singing down here. I like to live the love. And
I
Baby and I are singing. I like to live the love I sing about.
Who's gonna?
I like
should I
to-
try going?
We can all go.
Can
Can
you
all
say?
try.
Jackass.
I
live the love
I
sing
sing
about
Not low,
Yeah.
bro. In
In
my
my
song.
song. I like to live the love I sing about.
And
Jake, you're still low. In my,
In
My
my
song. We can all say,
song.
I.
I.
You yourself. I.
I.
No, not I.
I'm trying.
I.
You're nervous to miss the
I
note.
like to live the.
Love. You're nervous to miss the note. That's all it is. If you open up your throat, right?
I'll try. I'll go all out
One,
this time.
2, chorus.
I like to live the love I sing about in my song. I like to live the love I sing about in my song.
2 more times.
I like to live the love I sing about in my song.
Last time.
I like to live the love I sing about
Now slow it down.
in my song.
That's what our rehearsals people have.
Woo!
All right.
Nailed it.
All right,
Beautiful.
great job, great job.
All right. I think that's a good way to end it.
That's a good way to end it.
All right.
So,
Thank you guys for watching.
Thank
It's been
you for
great
coming
to
on the
have you on
podcast.
Thank you,
here.
Mr.
My
Levin.
pleasure. My pleasure.
Appreciate it very much.
Thank
It's
you,
fun.
boys.
All right. Thank you so much.